Education is not for the faint at heart. It is hard work. The point is, it is so difficult because it is one area where it requires your full attention, your full self, every ounce of your being if you're going to be effective. If you take educators out of the mix, total chaos. There'd be no doctors, lawyers, technicians, architects. None of that would be possible without that foundation of education, without the dedication of those educators. You look at the current leadership here in Boston and what you're able to do with charter school excellence. You have demonstrated that progress is not only possible, but it is necessary. So there should be no question that Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, came about as a defining moment for our nation. Now, there's a direct correlation, I believe, between Brown v. Board and charter schools. And I say that because once Brown was on the books, so to speak, that we spent decades trying to come up with ways, presumably, to educate children of color, quality, opportunities, options, choice, charter, presumably as a way of helping school boards and local governments implement what they thought the court meant. All across this country for the 2016-2017 school year, our children are being educated in traditional public schools, public charter schools, independent schools, parochial schools, alternative schools, private schools, home schools, and there may be some out there that I'm not aware of yet. All of this, presumably, in an effort to come up with that magic formula. We really do know how to educate children. It is not rocket science. But the one thing it requires the most is something our nation has yet to make happen, and that is political will and a recognition that this is a collective action, that if we have children who are failing, who are not achieving, who are not successful, we all pay the price for that. It is not us and them. It is only us. And for whatever reason, we have yet to come up with that understanding that there is no such thing as second-class citizenship, or at least there shouldn't be. Although the way we educate ensures that we have second-class citizens walking among us who cannot read, who cannot write, who do not understand, who cannot be the kind of citizen that the Horace Manns of the world historically intended public education to create. So as a nation, shouldn't we be focused on the best public options to ensure, particularly those children whose parents don't have economic options, that their children would still have a pipeline to educational excellence? You know, I think it's almost laughable, but it breaks my heart when even some of our civil rights leaders who chastise public education institutions after picking up their child at private school. You know, there's something wrong with that picture. We talk about accountability, but there's also accountability at that level as well. You know, we become a nation of do as I say, but certainly not as I do. So if we're going to point the finger at public schools, let's not do that unless we are willing to roll up our sleeves and sit down with the folks that operate charter schools. Let's not suggest that there's something so terribly wrong about another type of public schooling that has been proven to be successful, particularly here in Boston. What you're doing here at the Pioneer Institute, what Boston has been able to do, needs to be the model. I'm really somewhat appalled what I've been reading lately in Education Week about some of our civil rights organizations and new ones that have emerged, suggesting that charter schools are not doing the job they were intended, suggesting that there's failure, suggesting that they were siphoning off certain elements of our public school system. We do an awful lot of talking, and we do an awful lot of scapegoating our children. Well, I think the battle over school choice and educational options began at 12:52 p.m. on May 17, 1954, when Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court Earl Warren announced the unanimous opinion of the United States Supreme Court in the 5 consolidated cases of Brown v. Board of Education. Well, I agree with Horace Mann that education is a great equalizer of the condition of individuals. It is the balanced wheel of social machinery. And that public education, whether it's traditional or whether it's public education that has learned the lessons of charter public schooling, that excellence is possible. So charter schooling could be successful models, that is, for young African-American urban students, an answer to letting them know that they have a voice, that their parents have a voice. But I would suggest that as you have found success here in Boston and the charter schools, that be something that's shared, that be something that's exported to other folks. Because this is a country that has to belong to all of us in some meaningful way. You know, you need to be successful in whatever political initiative so you can have more charter schools, so you have room for those children. So never give up. Never think that the work is too hard. Because if the work appears to be too hard, you're doing it right. So hats off to you in Boston. I'm so pleased to know that there are successful charter schools that I can now talk about in other places in the country.